the most striking moments of MuJew don't happen within the MuJew meeting space. They happen kind of on our own time. I'm Ranan Barak, but everyone calls me Sheppy.
My name is Sarah Blumenthal.
I'm Rosie Levine.
Well, I'm Al. Well, that's what I go by.
My name is Misbah Ahmed.
My name is Ungveen Khan.
A friend who's still in the group with me invited me along and kind of dragged me to one of their first meetings. And the meeting was all right, but it was just kind of the people there. I love the people enough that it kept me coming back every week just to keep seeing those people who I became pretty close friends with.
And I saw that I really liked the atmosphere, that it was very social, very friendly.
We have the same people who come back. We call it our core, which is basically about 25 Muslims and Jews who have committed to showing up every week.
For me, it was a great way to make friends that I wouldn't have made had I not stepped outside of my own boundaries of being Muslim and then being Pakistani.
What I prefer more than anything else is just the opportunity to meet people who become my friends.
Each week we would choose two people, a Muslim and a Jew, see whatever you want to talk about or whatever you want to do, from playing Jewish themed apples to apples or having interfaith dialogues on meaningful topics. It's just whatever people decide that they want to talk about.
We went on the alternative spring break.
I just knew a couple people who were going, and my brother went, and a lot of my friends went on previous years to New York and stuff, so I heard good things about the trip.
And then I went on the MuJew ASB trip last spring break, and that really solidified it for me. That was when I knew it was something that I really wanted to be involved with.
We went to Birmingham, Alabama to rebuild houses that were destroyed in the tornadoes. We were there for a week. We stayed at an Orthodox synagogue and were working with Jewish Disaster Relief Corps and Islamic Circle of North America, and also Habitat for Humanity. So it was really an interfaith group effort. We built 2 houses, which was very cool, and we also had a lot of group meetings and activities that we did together. We had some good dialogues like we do in the normal meetings, and we really just got to know each other on a different level.
The bonds were so deep that anytime I see anyone from ASB, it's no time has passed.
Once you got past the normal bonding and making friends, and you got to the reflections and the dialogues, and it did a really good job of getting to the really meat of what we were trying to do on the trip.
Social action or community service is a very important part of both our religions. It makes a statement for not only MuJew but also Judaism and Islam.
I organized Jumu'ah Shabbat this year.
A lot of the Jewish students come to the Jumu'ah services and then vice versa, so and I think a lot of people get a good sense of what the other group is doing.
We had a kind of panel for people to ask questions about the 2 faiths, and there was a really good turnout for that.
Another really important part is kind of getting our message out there to the wider community, not just the people we already know. So with events like Jumu'ah Shabbat that we also did last year, we had the Laugh in Peace tour.
Collaboration with Hillel and MSA. We brought over a couple of comedians. One of them was Jewish and one was Muslim. But this was definitely a very interesting event because it had a large crowd.
I think religious difference, specifically difference rather than similarity, kind of lies at the basis of what we do.
And then I enjoyed learning about not only how other people outside of my religion practice, but how people within my own religion practice.
But that's still not any kind of problem. There's nothing wrong with being different. We don't have to pretend that Christians and Jews and Hindus and Muslims all believe the same things. They don't. They believe all sorts of different things, and that can still be beautiful and an awesome way to connect. You don't have to pretend you're the same.
It doesn't matter what level of faith I am, because I know I won't be judged for it at all.
It's not like the Jews believe one thing and Muslims believe another. It's like if you have 20 Jews and 20 Muslims, you have 40 different opinions. When there's been any kind of stereotypes or misunderstandings, it's because people feel free to bring up, be like, oh, I heard that Jews believe that. Is that true? Because people feel we know we're not going to offend one another. We know each other far too well for that.
The 2 groups have so much more to offer each other and so much more to give than just this one conflict.
People aren't able to separate in their mind the difference between political issues and local community issues. And what's important is for people to realize MuJew doesn't have any stance on it. We don't deal with global political issues. We deal only with local personal issues.
We try to steer clear of it. A lot of other groups will handle that, and we'll just kind of do what we do. And people get really offended by that sometimes. The fact that why aren't you talking about it? You're trying to censor it or pretend it's not an issue. But that's not what we're about.
one of the focuses of MuJew is also kind of those bonds between the Muslim and Jewish community also being, I guess the word is more commonly used in the LGBTQ community, but also in this community that we're allies for each other. That when anything happens on campus or anywhere else in terms of Islamophobia or anti-Semitism, it's important for MuJew to be there, having both Muslims and Jews kind of standing up together and saying, this isn't okay and we're not going to stand for that. I hear these comments far too regularly. Even people who aren't overall Islamophobic, but just think it's funny, like, oh yeah, and those Muslim terrorists, you know, and make some kind of stupid quip about that. I used to, like, you know, I'd cringe, but I know, well, I don't need, you know, what am I going to change their mind? I don't need to say anything. At this point, forget it being issue of social justice or personal responsibility to the world in general or anything. It's on a very personal level. You're insulting my friends, and I'm not okay with that.
I mean, I find myself a lot within my own community talking about stuff that gets political, and then we end up getting to the issue of Arabs and Muslims and Jewish people, and I usually find myself trying to de-emphasize the significance of these differences.
The people sometimes will ask us, why do we have a Muslim-Jewish group instead of, you know, a Muslim-Jewish-Christian group, or just an interfaith group in general? Why exclude people who aren't Muslim and Jewish? Which we don't, everyone's welcome, but part of our view is that it's really important specifically to have this interaction between Muslims and Jews, because the way it's often portrayed in the media is that people view that Muslims and Jews hate each other. They always have and they always will. Immediately they think conflict and they think hatred. They don't just think like two different religions. They immediately have the idea of conflict and hatred. So that's one of the reasons it's so important to have a group that focuses on those relations, just at least, if only, to a small community of people at Michigan, to show that Muslims and Jews can get along. It doesn't mean we're going to solve all the problems in the world. We're not going to, and we have no such delusions, but at least we can show that there's a group of people who love each other like any other people and can get along.